Welcome to Wake Up with Joni, the podcast where we don't just talk about awakening, we live it, and where the journey inward becomes the foundation of how we lead, love, and move through the world. Today's conversation invites us into the fascinating intersection of frequency, breath, vibration, healing, and human potential. I'm joined by Sigmar Berg, also known by many as Mr. Frequency. Born in Austria and originally trained as an entrepreneur, architect, and designer, Sigmar took an unexpected turn when he became deeply curious about the hidden role of frequency may play in our biology, emotions, and overall well-being. Today, we explore what it means to tune ourselves, not just physically, but emotionally, energetically, and spiritually, and how simple practices might help us move from the noise of the mind back into the wisdom of the heart. So let's dive in. Welcome, Sigmar.
Hey, Joni, thank you so much for having me.
How did this all begin? What's the genesis of the healing work you do?
I didn't have a traumatic story and a near whatever experience that woke me up. So I think my experience with spirituality was very gradual. I grew up in the mountains in Austria, close to a lake. I had always a big connection to nature, and I think this is where a lot of things came from. Then in early years, in my teenage years, I was a swimmer. So I subconsciously did breath work all my life. When you swim and when you glide and you exhale and you hear the sound of the water, it's like a meditative state of mind. And this is how you can also swim over a long period of time. And then the regulation of breath was just like something what later on in life, when I started doing breath work, I go, oh, that reminds me I was doing this a long time ago. So this is a little bit in a nutshell where I'm coming from and why I have this connection to frequency long before I did it consciously. I relocated to the United States about 20 years ago, started meditating, had back then a pretty busy life. I was a fashion designer, I was running my own company, living in Los Angeles, and I was always living at the ocean, but this also kept me, I think, sane to a certain long period of time, actually. And then I started meditation, and this was very grounding for me, and it was great. I did it every morning. I wake up super early. I did it at night. And then I got actually introduced to the frequency through an old friend of mine. And he introduced me to a breathwork facilitator. And we did a breathwork session, and we played the pure frequency of 520 hertz. And this was the strongest and most powerful meditation I had till this time in my life. A year later, we came up with the idea and we developed the love tuner, what is basically a single tone flute. We put it in the form of a necklace. It combines breath work with sound healings. And on a spiritual level, it's basically you arrive in the here and now and you invite love in your life. And I can show it to your listener real quick. So it's this necklace. It holds this single tone flute. Zoom doesn't pick up the tone, but it sounds like a high pitched C. So you inhale through your nose, you exhale through the tuner. It resets your nervous system in no time. It shortcuts meditation. So it gives the feeling of relaxation. And we did many testing with people and their reaction to it. It's a quick fix, but it's a very potent fix.
I get the question all the time, how do I meditate? How do I do breath work? And so I love what you just said, which is it's a shortcut. So especially if they're beginners, it can help them almost like muscle memory, get the idea and the feeling of the breath and the sound. So they breathe in. How many times do you think is effective to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth?
We came up with you should do at least 6 breathing cycles. But even one helps you. In a stressful situation, you have a second in an elevator, you go to a meeting, just do 1 cycle before you step in. But if you have time, do 6 cycles, depending on your exhale, it takes whatever. If you're a breathwork person, you can exhale for a long time, 30 seconds to over a minute. If you're a beginner, it takes 15, 20 seconds to exhale, then you inhale again, and then you do it again. We recommend 6 cycles.
6 cycles. Okay. But you're working with the vagus nerve, which is the biggest. Okay. And so this gives a human something to focus on. So I advise people, for example, who are afraid of flying. that they bring themselves to the present moment. They feel the handles on the chair. They notice the texture of the leather or the pleather or whatever it is. So they bring themselves to the present moment. That's incredibly powerful to stop an anxiety attack, a panic attack, to ground a person. And this seems like a really great way to bring them into that present moment, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
because what you just described is our anxiety is always created in the mind. Your body doesn't get anxious, but we still have a wiring that we had, whatever, from the Stone Age when the tiger was coming around the corner and we are in a fight and flight mode. In our society, it's not necessary anymore, but we still have the same wiring. So when we are triggered, we either go fight or flight. And when you do a conscious breathing break, it literally takes care about the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous systems. And this resets your nervous system. We have a total sensory overload. So we are firing about 75,000 thoughts a day. And if you can give your body a quick break, if it's a couple of minutes to be in the state, we always talk about the mindful industry, but I always call it you should be mindless.
Yes. And so 528, it's actually on your hat. You mentioned it earlier. 528, is that not the frequency of Earth itself?
It's actually the love frequency or the DNA
Love.
frequency.
Um,
128 hertz is actually the main frequency and the solfeggio frequencies, and they're all ancient frequencies, healing frequencies. And it's called love frequency because it connects you to the universal love. So what is out there in this morphogenetic field where we tap into it. So it's the planet and all the universe. And it's also a frequency that occurs in every living matter. So it occurs in the humming of the bees. It's in the chlorophyll of the leaves. And if you put an amplifier on a leaf, it has the same vibration that the love tuner has. It's exactly 520 hertz.
yeah. You wrote a book. Can you share the name of that? And what is that book about?
Yeah, the book is called One Journey. It's a little bit autobiography. It's a little bit about my life, starting in the mountains in Austria, some detours in my life that maybe have been necessary to bring me where I am right now. It gives you insights how to handle the love tuner, how to integrate it in your life, how to raise your frequency, and most importantly, how to maintain this higher level of frequency. And then it goes into spiritual laws. It tells you the escalation steps when you get a little snivel all the way to severe illnesses that we learn to react to our body again.
So I love you use the word maintain because we talk a lot about sustaining. So it's
Yeah.
not just about reaching a higher frequency on any particular day, but it's how do we consistently tap into that? How do you recommend that people sustain and maintain their growth, their peace of mind?
I think the most important practice, and this is when you tap into our frequency, for example, what you actually enter is our heart. And we need to live in heart coherence. That's the most important thing because the heart is 50,000 times stronger than the magnetic field of the brain, for example. And still, everything in our time is regulated up here. So, by a conscious journey to go out of your head into your heart, you will have a different life experience. Everybody that knows how to tap in there will feel right away uplifted. But it's a little bit more complex. So when people, for example, go on a retreat and they come back home and they learn certain techniques, they feel like, oh, wow, I'm vibrating so high. But this is a tricky thing because, as you said, it's about sustainability. And sustainability means to change your lifestyle all over. So you cannot, on one hand, fulfill a spiritual practice that brings you on the journey of enlightenment and to higher consciousness. And then you go in a fast food restaurant and eat low frequency food. So it's a very complex thing. And if you understand frequency and vibration, then you need to change it in a whole because every trauma and everything that we have or we carry around is not in the mind, it's actually on a cellular level. And if we release this, we transform our body. So you go up in your vibration, and then what is next? How to stay there? And this is then the lifestyle change. And lifestyle change starts with the intake. It starts with people you surround yourself. Everybody knows that you go into a room and you go, there's a weird vibe. Hang in there because it's business and whatnot. And the same thing is you meet friends and you have a nostalgic friendship and you know every time when you come home, you go, wow, I listened to all these problems and it's not my life anymore.
Oftentimes, I talk to people about the mind is a brilliant collector of information, an aggregator, and all of that. But the truth has to be felt from the heart. So we have to drop from the head to the heart. So get the information, then take it to the heart. And I remember the first time anyone ever said this to me, she said, could you feel into, we were talking about doing a retreat together. Could you feel into this location? I'm like, you think I can do that? I didn't say that out loud. I went, of course I'll feel into it. So I started feeling into things. I went, oh my gosh, this is really cool, because it's exactly what you're saying. It is energy, it is frequency. And you can tell if you feel the disconnect, if you feel something negative, or you can feel when it's really in alignment. So there's a couple questions in here. I know there's a box breath, I believe, that brings you into coherence with the earth frequency.
I know box breathing, and there's
Yeah.
a lot of methodology out there, and it all comes down to regulating the nervous system. This is breathwork. What breathwork is for, to give you even the physical, the opportunity to tune in. The love tuner sets one on top of it and gives you a frequency that brings you right to the point of creation. But yes, you're completely right. So first of all, regulate your nervous system, because otherwise you cannot get in there. You cannot be stressed out and panic and go, oh, I can feel the energy of a tree. Because in my book, actually, it starts with, I'm standing outside. I live in California. I have an old ranch, and I'm barefoot hugging a tree. If somebody would have told me this 15 years ago, I would have said, oh, that's pretty hippie stuff. It's not for
Right.
me. But I write this in this book as a beginning to set the tone and go, listen to my story, because I was not a tree hugger. And I was always cool as whatever rocks their boat, you can do it. And when I started feeling vibration, I hug trees. And I think this is such a great reset for people. And if you start, first of all, you want to obviously live in heart coherence. But if you feel the tree and you really hug it and not feel stupid and get out of your head into your heart, you will feel this energy, you will feel this vibration.
You also spoke about what we take in.
Yeah.
So the clarity of water, the vibration of food. My partner puts love into the food. He does all the cooking, and he consciously puts love into the food. And then he taught me to put love into the water that I feed my plants with. And my plants are going insane and flowering and doing all these things. I literally take the water for people out there. You know, love, 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 love. That's all I have to do. And that creates that ah sound. So do you do that?
I don't know if you know the book from Emoto, The Hidden Messages in Water. He actually proved that prayers to water change the structure.
Yes.
And also, whatever horrible words, swear words, it reacts. So our body is about 75 to 80% water. Our blood is 91% water. So what happens when we get exposed to frequency? It happens right away. And when you put 528 hertz on water, and this is why I tune my water what I drink. I use the tuner and blow on it, because within 30 seconds, it restructures the water shape. So it goes back into declustered water, into the perfect shape of a hexagonal water molecule, like out of a mountain spring. So I have friends that are chefs, and lots of them are wearing tuners, because in kitchens it gets very stressful.
Yes.
The stress goes into the food. So back in my busy days when I traveled a lot, I was always pretty health conscious when it came to food, but I ate a lot in restaurants, and you take in this stress. And at one point, after traveling for a couple of weeks, and you eat the certain foods that are out of stressful kitchens, energetically, it weakens you.
I think using the tuner, like whistling at your food, you may feel silly at first, but I think that's a really powerful way to begin that shift for people.
With tuning water, for example, or food, we even have it on our homepage. You can see it under microscope what it does. It doesn't take 30 seconds that it starts restructuring, declustering.
The thoughts and the intention behind the food are everything.
Yeah.
Have you and your company done any research on the connection between frequency, the whistle, and HRB.
There's a lot of stuff out there what is just like, yeah, there's so much misinformation and I cannot even really talk about it because it's so overshadowing. If we would tell what we really found, people would go, oh, that's not true. This is made up stuff. So I would tell people, go on our homepage, read what we found, read the book, and like, this is the life changer.
Yeah. Does it,
Yeah.
connecting to the higher frequencies, bring down inflammation?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Which will raise your HRB.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it would be a positive influence.
It's absolutely. We don't give medical advice,
That's okay. That's where I thought you were going.
And this is just like, but everything else is better than to take medication. You can totally regulate your body. You can heal your body. And listen, it's just so hard to overcome it because it's so indoctrinated, especially in this country. Everybody follows so blindly into this trap. And so really do your research. Don't take me. I'm not a doctor. But yeah, there's a lot of literature out there on our page as well.
We talk a lot about on this channel, on this podcast, we talk a lot about that it's not one thing.
Yeah.
That having a whole experience as a human being, a whole body is influenced by multiple things. And oftentimes it's the meditation, the breath work, eating well, moving your body. We haven't really talked about that. And sleeping well, which I assume the frequency piece would help with as well.
Yeah, for sleep, this is the biggest thing that we are dealing with right now is that we cannot sleep. And it all goes back to not enough movement, malnutrition, and exposed to the wrong frequencies.
Yes.
So when you have to stop eating a couple of hours before you go to bed, when you stop being exposed to put your phone away, put your computer away, come to the state of calmness. And if you on top of it use a tuner or a sleep meditation or listen to a meditation, a sound meditation, it calms your nervous system. And the problem is a lot of people can fall asleep, but they don't stay asleep.
Yes.
And this is just because there's so much cortisol in our bodies. And this is just like constantly there. This is a stress hormone that wakes you up. You're totally exhausted. You fall asleep. You sleep for 3 hours and boom, then you're up. And then you cannot go back to the deep sleep phase again. Then you wake up in the morning and you are just completely tortured.
My sleep score is a 97. I do multiple things. I do think I put the earplugs in, and they're the putty ones. I do the breathing tape. I cover my eyes. I'm in a sleep deprivation tank, basically. So what have we not touched on that you would like to talk about?
The sustainability of living in a higher frequency. And I think the most important thing is we talk about love is the highest frequency out in the universe. But there's something what people always forget, and this is authenticity. And authenticity is the only way to wholeness. Authentic to yourself, if you make the little shortcuts, then you will never, everything else becomes irrelevant. So you cannot raise the frequency if you're not even aware where you're standing, where you begin. So it really takes a deep look inside and really carve out what is the core essence, what I am, what I'm vibrating with, what I'm in harmony, what I'm in dissonance. So I think that's the key to be authentic. Then you can go all the way and disguised in this case.
So some people are going to listen to this podcast and they're going to say, of course, all of that. No problem. I got this. Some people are going to say, okay, that was a lot. What? What did they just say? I have no idea where to start.
Yeah.
So where can they begin?
I think I would take it very analytical. I would look at what is already good in your life and be grateful for it. Look at the things that work well, that you wake up in the morning, you take a breath, you're still alive. Be grateful for a sunrise, for a sunset. So if you do this first, then this is a good start. Then you look at the stuff, what is not okay. And then you see, what can I change from those points? What I'm even able to do. You're not going to change politics. So maybe don't listen to the news for a while and really disconnect from this. Don't tap into this trap that keeps us all busy in nonsense because we are not getting paid for this. and it doesn't make our life better. And then there's the next thing, what do you really want to achieve? What is really so important for you? This should take your full capacity. This should be your focus. So it's basically being grateful what is out there, looking what you can influence. So what you cannot influence, let it go, and then really make the priorities that you really want to change. This is where you put all your energy, all your focus, and don't look back, because we all know it. If you live in the past, you get depressed. And if you live in the future, you get anxiety. Find something that grounds you, that brings you in the here and now, because in the here and now, this is where life is happening. And then Timothy Leary said this in the 60s, I think. And this was when surfing was not a mainstream sport. It was like outsiders, the black sheeps of our society. And he said, when I look at a surfer, this is the person right now that lives in the moment, because the wave behind him doesn't exist anymore. And the one in front of him is not even there. So he's right there. He's riding the barrel, he's riding the wave. So he's in the here and now. And this is what I think, this is where life begins.
Yes, I love that. Where can they find you?
Lovetuner.com. We have a pretty good homepage that gives us a lot of scientific things. We talk also about the heart rates and all the things what you can do. We have a lot of blogs about this. You can also find a link to my book. You can book a one-on-one session. We even do Love Tuner coaching. So there's a lot of stuff out there if somebody wants to get in touch with us. And then you also find all the social handles.
Nice. And so do you think the focus or the beginning of the coaching is about finding that heart center?
Yeah. Get out of your head, get into your heart.
Okay. I love it. Thank you so much. I have one more question. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. How do you recommend that the listener go out and live their most alive lives?
By just jumping and screaming and loving and forgetting that you are however old you are, and whatever happens to you, just feel your own life energy. I would say scream, maybe people look at you, and be happy. Smile at people in the street.
Yeah, it's contagious, isn't it?
It is, absolutely.
Actually, every frequency is contagious. So why not intentionally, positively influence? I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. All right, folks, if you found helpful nuggets or inspiration in this episode today, please subscribe, rate, review, and share it with somebody you care about. The more we give for the sake of giving, the bigger the difference we will make. If you're interested in coaching with me or grabbing my book, Stop, Look, Choose Your Journey to Peace and Freedom, go to wakeupwithjoni.com. And also the new thing, we have solo and couples retreats. And if you're interested in that, go to paradiseranchretreat.com. Now, beautiful humans, my favorite part, it's your turn to go out and live your most alive lives.